We are taking a live look here at Le Vernet, which is near the crash site. It's an area where the families of victims of the crash have gathered. You can't see exactly from this angle, but what they've started doing is putting up flags to represent the nationalities of the different of the victims, and there's certainly an American flag there as well as many others. We've learned a lot this morning about why this Germanwings plane went down. We've heard from the French prosecutor as well as the CEO of Lufthansa. The French prosecutor said that the plane was deliberately downed by the co-pilot, and the CEO of Lufthansa was able to give us a little more information about that co-pilot.
Yes, and so we know that his name is Andreas Lubitz. He was 28 years old, a German co-pilot, and we've got some reporting from CBS News. Our own Jeff Pegues just a short time ago confirmed that, in fact, back in 2012, Lubitz actually received his private pilot certification by the FAA, which means that he would have had to spend some time here in the U.S. as part of that. What we also can tell you at this hour is that Len Tepper, who is a senior producer with our investigative unit, has spoken to a U.S. law enforcement source, and that source says that Lubitz trained at a facility in Arizona, a flight school there, from July through November of 2010. He was last in the United States in October of 2014, so just last October on a crew visa. However, this law enforcement source does not know if this means that Lubitz actually flew here. So we are still, of course, in the midst of this developing story. We'll bring you more information about Lubitz just as soon as we get it. In the meantime, I want to share with you a conversation that we had earlier today with Captain Sully Sullenberger.
Elaine, just the magnitude of the loss. This is such a tragic occurrence, made worse apparently by the fact that it may have been an intentional act. Still much correlation of data to find out exactly what happened. I think at the end of this investigation, which may take many months, we'll find out what happened and how it happened. I think the most difficult part is going to be why. If it was an intentional act, what was the motivation? I think the security procedures will be reviewed. I think it's going to be important that all airlines have 2 people in the cockpit at all times. I think that's going to be a focus of much of what was said. I understand, having been at an airline for over 30 years and having had, in that time, our airline experienced several fatal accidents long ago, it is like a large family. And the sense of loss within the airline and the employee is immense, especially if it's found to be something that was avoidable. So it magnifies the loss for the victims' families, and it magnifies the loss for those still working at the airline.
The CEO of Lufthansa said that, in order to get a job flying one of their planes, there are a battery of tests that you have to go through, that the co-pilot passed his test with flying colors. But he also said after you're hired, other than commanders, you're not retested, particularly psychologically. Do you think that needs to be reassessed? Should the co-pilots and others need to go in and maybe get checked up on every 6 months or so?
Airline pilots are among the most scrutinized, in fact, probably the most scrutinized professional group in the world. Certainly more than medical professionals are. Not only do we take regular medical examinations, we have to prove our competence, our knowledge, our skill, and our judgment in training in the flight simulator on a regular basis, several times per year. And beyond that, we imagine what the cockpit and working environment is like. In many ways, it's like being in a small closet with someone for 8 or 10 or 12, sometimes 16 hours a day. Very close proximity. Every little interaction is noticed. In that environment, we have the chance to watch each other work, to see how we perform. Nothing goes unnoticed. And we also have at our pilots' unions a very effective professional standards committee structure where we can go to peers if we have a concern about a pilot. And if the concern isn't addressed, we can then go to our airline's management to have it addressed. And beyond that, of course, our nation's regulatory agency, the FAA, can get involved and have this pilot specifically tested if there's any question about their competence. But having said that, these extraordinarily rare events where there apparently is an intentional act to harm someone, while it flies in the face of everything about being a professional pilot and our duty that we deeply feel to protect our passengers, at the end of the day, it's very difficult to accurately predict when one particular person is going to do something completely uncharacteristic.
So, all right, well, Captain Chesley Sully Sullenberger, thank you so much for that insight.